Good afternoon, everyone. Hope things are well. Big 24 hours for Newcastle United on social media as it's now been announced that a £45 million upfront bid for Anthony Elanga has been rejected from Nottingham Forest. Not to mention, we also have transfer news regarding several players. And once again, Liverpool fans are being a bit arrogant towards Newcastle, thinking they can just walk into our football club and take Alexander Isak off us. So we're here in this video to get to the bottom of all of it. Now, starting things off, we will address yesterday's video where, of course, we talked heavily about the signing of Jung Su, South Korean 18-year-old attacking option where, surprisingly, if you've actually been on any South Korean pages over the last couple of days, there's even a YouTube video where Newcastle United is actually teamed up with a major South Korean sports channel where we've had a scout in South Korea, not just scouting players out, but it's also a media thing, so they've actually went there, scouted players out, and then got the entire video on YouTube. So you guys can even go now and watch this and even look at the likes of Sue, where Newcastle have even got themselves out in the South Korea media channels, of course, trying to promote the fact that we're going there next month. And it's quite a unorthodox move where Newcastle is not just signing a player from South Korea to try and improve our squad in a few years' time, but more so signing them as a marketing ploy. So when we're in South Korea, there's going to be tens of thousands of people just buying Newcastle shirts with Jung Su on the back. So it's mental. We haven't really seen anything like this probably since the Mike Ashley days where we signed Santiago Munoz, Mexican youngster, because it's almost the same name as Santiago Munoz from the Gold movie. I still can't believe we've signed a youth player a few years ago because he has the same bloody name as a movie star that we had in Newcastle United film back in the early 2000s. I just can't believe that one was real now. Of course, this one now is not as bad as the Santiago Munoz, but it is a clear sign that Newcastle is looking to bring a youngster in, more so for us to make money rather than the fact that Jung Su is going to make it one day at Newcastle. Does anyone honestly think Eddie Howe wants Jung Su? He probably doesn't. We're signing him now, going to bring him out on loan, but of course, with us being in South Korea next month, he's going to be a massive draw for us to try and attract a larger audience, which I still think is a good deal and a smart business move from Newcastle. Now, just for me briefly, if you guys enjoyed the content, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss me out in South Korea next month because I will be going there on Newcastle's pre-season tour. We're going to be in Singapore. We're going to, of course, be in Scotland for the Celtic game. So plenty of content coming out. Make sure you don't miss any of it. Now, let's just start off with Elanga yesterday. I'm sure you guys have seen the rejected bid. We don't need to go too much into that. Of course, the likes of Keith Downey have said that, well, Newcastle wants Elanga, but they also are potentially looking at Kudus from West Ham, Bakayoko at PSV, and Adeyemi over at Dortmund. In terms of attacking options, I don't know an awful lot about Bakayoko. In terms of his stats, I mean, he's got decent goal contributions. 1 assist last season is probably not the best return in that regard. But from what you guys have said about Bakayoko, you all seem to be quite keen on him. He's the one out of the three I just don't know anything about now. Adeyemi, I know a lot more about, of course, outright option at Dortmund. He is a talent. I like him quite a lot. Very energetic, aggressive player and someone that would heavily improve Newcastle's attack. And, of course, we have Kudus over at West Ham. West Ham have dropped off a bit last season. Probably the correct time now to potentially go in and to sign some players we want to. And West Ham, out of any of the Premier League clubs, is one of the more likely clubs who could sign a player from. But the reality is, we're seeing with Elanga here, problem being, there is a Premier League tax. It does not matter who you sign in the Premier League, there is always going to be an additional tax on the end of those players. So when you look at Elanga, £45 million, which was rejected, chances are, I reckon Newcastle probably will go back in for a second bid. I don't think they'll push their luck too much after that. And I like to hope and say that I don't think it'll be a Marty Gay situation where you're talking 4, 5, 6 bids and then walking away. I think Newcastle will be a lot clearer this time. If Forest are intent on not selling them, which it seems like they are, I think Newcastle will move on quickly. But I said this yesterday in social media, and I kind of stand by it now. I actually don't think... Now, it depends how the payment structure works. Now, if there's loads of city add-ons, and if it's a structured payment where you're talking 2, 3, 4 seasons where you're kind of slowly paying Nottingham Forest, I actually don't think 60 million is the worst thing I've ever heard. I definitely don't think we should pay that, and I don't think he's worth £60 million. Let me say that now, but it's not the biggest rip-off I've ever seen now. I've seen the likes of the Tomb of You, for example, and I've seen a lot of you guys as well suggest the likes of Eze coming in now. Eze, I just don't think we're going to get for £60 million. And I think this is the problem in the Premier League. Every single player you want to bring in there is going to be price tax and price tags on them. A guy like Eze, for example, not to mention if Mark Gay leaves this window, which it looks like he might. Can't see Crystal Palace wanting to sell Eze. Not to mention, I think he will be way more expensive than £60 million. I reckon 80 and £90 million would be the price tag on him, which is mental. I don't think he's worth that much. Eze as well is a bit older, so he's 26 years old now. And when you talk about Elanga, when you talk about the other options as well, like Keith Downey has stated, every single one of those players are 24 and younger. So it does seem to be Newcastle looking to potentially go into quite a young market, whereas Eze just seems to be a little too old for what Eddie Howe is wanting. Assuming that the reports are correct, by the way. But yeah, you can talk about Eze, you can talk about a lot of these attacking options. There's always going to be a Premier League tax. It just always is going to be that way. So unless Newcastle goes outside the Premier League, which are looking to do with the options we mentioned there, we're going to have this issue. So when you look at 60 million for Elanga, when you look at 60 for João Pedro, when you look at 40 for Trafford, when you look at the big money for all of these players, we are always going to have this problem. So you either deal with it now and unfortunately potentially splash a little bit of money, but I think Newcastle still will bring one of these Premier League players in. It just depends on how you structure the payments. I don't think 60 for Elanga is the worst thing in the world if you structure it across multiple seasons. But then again, he is still not a £60 million player. And that's what you're going to get with an important player like Elanga at Forest. They don't want to sell him, so they're going to dump massive money on him. And when you speak about important players that clubs don't want to sell, we don't want to sell Isak. And when you talk about Isak, you look at 170, 180 million pounds to potentially let him go. Again, no one's going to pay that. And that is the point. Our teams are going to do the exact same thing. And speaking of Isak, these Liverpool pages now. Liverpool as a football club, I'm going to be straight up. I actually liked Liverpool quite a lot last season, especially after that cup final. The amount of Liverpool supporters that were humble, that were down to earth, and a lot of Liverpool fans is coming out. And I've had DMs of Liverpool fans is coming over and congratulate us. Like, it's such a nice thing to do. I thought Slot after the game, I thought the Liverpool players after the game, there was no arrogance, there was no bitterness, there was no aggressiveness towards Newcastle because we did deserve to win the cup final on the day. And the reason why I bring that up now is because, well, I got a lot of respect for Liverpool now. I thought they came across well. I enjoyed that last season of Liverpool fans showing Newcastle a lot of respect. And I'm on social media. This Isak thing over the last couple of weeks, I've had the same at Arsenal as well, but there's almost a level of arrogance to it where Liverpool fans are now starting to look down Newcastle a bit and going, well, Isak's dream is to be at Liverpool. Newcastle's a Champions League club, yes, but they're not going to win the competition. We're going to win the competition. Isak wants to join a club that's going to win silverware. And it's almost kind of like, well, they're just looking down on Newcastle and just thinking that we're not a successful club and we're not a club that's going to achieve anything now. Isak's always said that if you want to play Champions League football, he has that in Newcastle, regardless of whether Newcastle will win the competition or not. We are in the Champions League and they do have to respect that. And when you look at these Liverpool pages, there's loads of these silly ITK accounts coming out and going, well, I've got exclusive news that Isak wants to join Liverpool. He's not going to sign a new contract in Newcastle. He wants to make the move to Liverpool. I mean, people are acting like his contract's up in 12 months. It's not. He has 3 years left in his deal. This time next season, when it's 2 years left in his deal, yes, at that stage, it will start to become a massive priority for Newcastle. But for now, we still have control of the situation. When you see Martin Hardy come out on social media and state that Newcastle is set to break the wage record to keep Isak at Newcastle. And even then, Liverpool fans read the article and they somehow took away good information from that article saying that, well, this is more evidence that Isak's going to join Liverpool. I don't know what you're reading here, but that looks like good news to me. Now, of course, Liverpool fans are claiming that they don't think Isak will sign a new contract. Well, while that may be true, yes. Now, Isak still has control himself. With 3 years left in his deal, he doesn't have to sign a new contract this summer. In his point of view, you might want to just stick an our season, waiting to see how Newcastle does in the Champions League, waiting to see how Newcastle does in the Premier League. And then next summer, he might potentially make a bigger move. But for now, he's not leaving this summer. I don't know why so many opposition fans think he's leaving this summer. I don't know why everyone's so adamant that Isak is out this summer. If anything, I think the Champions League qualification has been a major catalyst for our big players not wanting to go anywhere. Not to mention it's our most successful season ever in 70 years. Like, it's the best possible time to be a Newcastle United player. And opposition fans seem to just think they can walk in and take our best players like it's nothing. It's not going to happen at all. I am 100% confident that we will keep Isak this summer. I don't think he's leaving. These opposition fans, these Liverpool fans, he can bang on all he want. He can make all the tweets that he want. He can make all the video and all the media posts that he want. But Isak will go nowhere this summer. I am absolutely convinced that he'll stay. And I think he'll have a very successful season for Newcastle next year. If Newcastle doesn't have a great season, though, coming up, then maybe we can have a different conversation next summer. But I'm confident for now this won't be the case. But walking away from this video, when you look back at Newcastle's time, when you look back at what Newcastle is looking to do next, it is a big season for us. We can't deny it. We know it's a massive season for us. You look at the likes of James Trafford, obviously that's a lot of money going to be spent on a goalkeeper. And now it looks more certain that Newcastle will sign James Trafford. Of course, we know on the player side of things, terms have been agreed earlier this year. So it's just agreeing the price with Burnley. It's finding a deal that works for both clubs. And it's just bringing in a number 2 goalkeeper for Newcastle, but we'll get first team football fairly quickly. He'll be coming into our cup games alongside Nick Pope. Very healthy competition, and someone at the age that he is has a lot of potential. And I think this is a top level signing. But from reports on social media, this one does seem to be nailed on for Newcastle. It just doesn't seem to be going away. Newcastle is still interested in bringing him in. It just seems to be a signing where things are looking good for us now. As for Scalvani, the Inter Milan centre-half. Now, it has been stated that they are not looking to sell Scalvani. It's looking like he's not going to leave Italian football this summer, which is a bit of a shame towards Newcastle. But as you've seen a couple of years ago, Tonali, when we were linked to Barella, could be a smoke screen. Might potentially be a smoke screen where it's just on social media and all of a sudden Newcastle are going through the back door and they're going to sign someone else without social media ever knowing. And I think especially with the next week or so, expect things to change quickly. As I mentioned a few times already, this shirt, there is no name on the back. That shirt, there is no name on the back. I am fully prepared to go to the club shop and to get some brand new players on the back of these shirts because I think it will happen next week, especially before we go in any pre-season tours. We talked at the start of the video about Newcastle expanding their brand in South Korea. They want to do that with big players as well, not just local players from Korea, so they're going to try and do that. Fully expecting over the next couple of weeks. Eddie Howe is always steady, wants things to happen quickly. He's got the control now, and there's even meetings happening, well, today, where you've got Eddie Howe, Andy Howe, and you've got, of course, the board getting together, making sure that Newcastle has all their strategies and all their plans prepared and ready to go. And this is, as far as I'm aware, this will probably be one of the first official meetings without Paul Mitchell. So, of course, Paul Mitchell is gone within a week. Newcastle will move on without him, and it's hopefully Eddie Howe's time to shine in terms of bringing players in. Eddie Howe has already shined in terms of what he's brought to this football club, and that will never change. But especially without any directors, without anyone above him, I feel like Eddie Howe now has a real chance to show our chairman, to show the Public Investment Fund that himself can scout players, he can bring players in with his team at Newcastle, and he can make sure that he can just do the work himself. We don't want any of this back and forth headbutting between staff members behind the scene. Let Eddie Howe crack on with his job. Top class manager who brings some good players in, and he'll get the best out of those players as well. So I fully believe in the manager, fully backing Eddie Howe. But they're having some I say emergency. I wouldn't say emergency meetings, but they're having some important meetings that will help Newcastle bring in some top class players in this window. And we're going to be ready. I can't wait to see what we do in the next couple of weeks. Stay tuned because once it starts, it will not stop. Very hectic and busy time on the channel, so make sure you stick around and check it out. And let me know your opinions down below. What players would you bring if you had the chance? In terms of the winger options, out of the 4 available, so of course, Bakayoko, Adeyemi, Kudas, and Elanga, which one of those 4 would you bring into Newcastle? I'm intrigued to hear your guys' opinions because I think it's a lot of different opinions as well. I think a lot of people aren't fully convinced of which one of the 4 they were bringing because I think they're all good players. So let me know your favourite one. But take care, guys. Appreciate you watching, and we will see you all in the next one.